Happy hump day, y'all. Welcome to the infamous podcast. This is your boy Darryl, coming fresh off of Monday night's live recording of episode 299, which will be available this weekend. We were at Fretboard Brewery in Blue Ash, Ohio. This was a great place to be. Cheese curds and wings. I highly recommend it. This was our first time doing something like this, and again, I had a lot of fun. I know Brian did as well. We'll probably talk about that sometime later down the road, and who knows, maybe we'll be able to do it again. For those who were there and able to support us, thank you so much. If you couldn't make it, again, here's hoping we're able to do it again, and we'll definitely get the word out next time if that comes to fruition. So what am I talking about this week? In our midweek breakdown, I have a few trailers to talk about and a couple of news bites that really catch my interest. Well, I'll say one really catches my interest. The other one, not so much. But without further ado, let's talk about the trailers. The first trailer came out today, and again, I'm recording this on Tuesday. It's called The Last Duel. So this is based off a true story as told in a novel by Eric Yeager. And here is the synopsis. A tale of betrayal and vengeance set against the brutality of 14th century France. Knight Jean de Carew, again, I may be really brutalizing these names, and his squire Jacques Legris are ordered to engage in a fight to the death after Carew accuses Legris of raping his wife. This is one of those, again, medieval movies which I kind of like. There was a couple on actually Netflix, The Outlaw King, which Chris Pine was in that. And there's another one with Timothy Chalamet, and the name is escaping me right now. This one, again, as you heard, it stars Matt Damon and Adam Driver. Ben Affleck is in it too. Ben Affleck goes blonde, and Jodie Comer is playing the wife, Marguerite Carew. This is a screenplay by Damon and Affleck, but also Nicole Holofcener. And probably the biggest thing, other than Affleck and Damon being involved in this, is being directed by Ridley Scott. Maybe this might be a follow-up to his, not a follow-up, but a improvement to his theatrical version of Kingdom of Heaven. I never got a chance to see the director's cut, but I heard that was much better. I actually read in one of the comments on this movie that, are we going to get a theatrical cut and then a director's cut for this? It looks interesting. Again, if you're really into the medieval, battles and chivalry and all that stuff, it actually does look like an interesting movie. The Last Duel will be hitting theaters October 15th, 2021. Next up on the list is Malignant. This is going to be a horror movie, and it's coming to you from James Wan, who, some people might know him from the Fast and Furious franchise, but this guy has actually really built a name for himself in the horror genre. One of his first movies he's directed was Saw, which to me, again, is the only excellent movie in that franchise. I haven't seen Saw Spiral, but some of the other ones were nothing more than torture porn, kind of like the Hostel movies. That's just not my cup of tea. The first Saw was more of a cerebral thing. Yes, it had horror, it had some brutality in it, but there was a strong story. He brought you that. He brought you Insidious, both chapters 1 and 2, as well as the first two Conjuring movies, which out of the three Conjuring movies, the first one to me is far and away the best. This stars Annabelle Wallis from Peaky Blinders, 2017's King Arthur, and she was also in Annabelle Creation, another part of that Conjuring universe that Wan created. Jake Abel from Supernatural, McKenna Grace, and George Young. So Malignant is about Madison, who is played by Wallis, is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities. This is one of those, it's unlike The Last Duel, where the actual synopsis pretty much summarizes what you see in the trailer. Malignant is one of those you really should check out the trailer. It has that same type of, I'm going to say Insidious with a lowercase I. that same type of insidious vibe and tone of movies that you, if you're into the James Wan horror movies, you will be able to see right away. I'm really interested in this. It's not something I would go to the theaters to see. However, this is one of those dual releases. It will be coming to theaters and HBO Max on September 10th. That is good because I'm also not one of those people that likes to see horror movies often in theaters. Every now and then I'll check them out, but this one is, you know, when you have something like HBO Max, that's a real winner for a movie like this because I just don't know how much fanfare this would get, even though it is coming from Juan, who has shown that he's a credible director, creator, producer in the horror realms. Finally, we're going to the small screen, and this is a show that I've heard about a while ago. We finally got the trailer a few days back, and it's called Heels. This is going to be a Starz exclusive series. I believe it's 8 episodes. It premieres on August 15th. It stars Stephen Amell from Arrow fame, Alexander Ludwig, who made his name most recently as Bjorn Ironsides in Vikings. This follows a family-owned wrestling promotion as two brothers and rivals, Jack Spade, Amell, and Ace Spade, Ludwig, war over their late father's legacy. In the ring, somebody must play the good guy, which is the face, and this is going to be Ludwig's character, and someone must play their nemesis, the heel, which is Amell's character. But in the real world, those characters can be hard to live up to or hard to leave behind. This is one of those good old family dramas set in the realm of athletic competition. One of the things that we talked about on our Fretboard podcast was sports movies. This one looks very interesting. I know it's not a movie, but that means if done right, because it's 8 episodes, this can tell a more complex story, a deeper story, a longer developing story. And I'm a big fan of both Ludwig and Amell, so I'm really interested to see where this goes. I don't have Starz at the moment, but I'm not above, renting out a month-long subscription for something to catch up on a show like this. I will be checking this out, and I will be giving you all the rundown of my thoughts on this. Once again, Heels premieres on Starz August 15th. Finally, we're going to do a couple news bites. One of the things I actually had planned on doing, but I'm going to leave this as a separate video, is doing a review of Demon Slayer Season 1 and probably Demon Slayer the movie that just came out recently on Funimation. I'm going to hold off on that and do a separate video because a show like that deserves its time in the sun. I'm not going to do any news bites, just one review on the show, and then once I actually get to watching the movie, I'll do a review on that as well. So, movie bites. This is coming from comicbook.com, and it is talking Taskmaster's role in the MCU going forward. Now, a lot of you all already heard our reviews of Black Widow. While I thought it was middling, as I gave it a 6 out of 10, one of my biggest problems was Taskmaster. Again, going into the movie, I told people, I said, I tried to stay away from spoilers, but one of the rumors that was probably 90% confirmed when I heard it, before I went to go see it, was that Taskmaster, spoiler alert, was a female character, which is completely not the case in the comics. But more than that, it was Taskmaster has always been a chatter. Taskmaster has always had this big personality, particularly, and again, I know this is not the comics, but particularly in the recent Spider-Man game from 2018. I'm not going to say this is like my favorite character or one of my favorite villains or anything like that. I like the character well enough. With that being said, I thought there was a travesty of what they did to the character in Black Widow. It was one of the 4 things I thought made this movie brought this movie down from where it could have been. It could have been an excellent movie. It could have been one of those movies people would be talking about for years because it was a slam dunk. one of the fan favorite characters of the MCU, and instead they kind of go by their agenda and they retool Taskmaster to not only a female, but it's not that character. It's only that character in aesthetic, which I have to admit was fantastic. I loved how the look of the character. I know some people didn't. I really loved it. But how the character acted, again, this character was more like the Terminator than anything else, which, yes, it did. In certain scenes, it did work as a, oh man, this is going to be a for Widow and her sister to get out of this with this Terminator following them. Actually, it was kind of super easy, barely an inconvenience. Still, did not like that. But Olga Kurylenko talked with Comic Book News, and she discussed how this character could appear. She has her agency back. She's not being controlled by her father. What type of person is she, though? Is she going to be an anti-hero? And again, this is my commentary. Is she going to be an anti-hero? Is she going to be up for hire? Is she going to be part of the Thunderbolts? What's going to go on with this character? I'll tell you what, I'm not really that enthused about it. While I have nothing against Kurylenko. She was fine in Centurion, Quantum of Solace. Still haven't seen her in The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, despite having that movie for quite some time on Amazon Prime. Still, it's one of those things where if something's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? I know some people, I had read some people thought, oh, this goes perfectly with, the idea of Dreykov, who was the one-note terrible villain of the show, of the series, of the movie, and how it fits in with what he was doing and trying to control women and his misogynistic behavior and all that stuff. Still, you could have done all of that, and you could have had this, Taskmaster character have it being Tony Masters instead of, this stand-in tokenized version of the character. Again, I'm not a big fan of where the MCU is headed, but who knows? We might get something that, hey, they might surprise me. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that one. This part is actually the second news bite. Really has me excited of a fan of this series, which it's going to be one of those that is while it's popular in a niche audience or some of the old school horror fans, a lot of people are going to say, what? When I say Necroscope or Necroscope. And this is from Deadline from a couple days ago, and it is Revelations Entertainment acquires 1980s horror cult classic novel series Necroscope. This is a horror series by Brian Lumley. It expanded across 19 novels and short stories, translated into 9 languages, and is still in print today around the globe as they concurrently being released as audiobooks and in new collectible formats. Funny story, even before I actually came across this article, I was in my storage unit this weekend, and I just happened to pick up a collection of my books, and the first book of that series, Necroscope, which I got from Half Price Books because it's pretty weathered. And once I saw this, I actually started reading it, which I did have to put down after another book came out for me. But anyway, to talk a little bit more about this, this novel series is being adapted by Morgan Freeman and Laurie McCreary's Revelation Entertainment. The interesting thing that they're going to do, or that the plan is, to adapt this across multiple media, including episodic TV, animated features, video games, graphic novels, and emerging formats. A little bit more about this is that and this is from this is McCreary and Gary Lucchesi from who's Underworld, $1 Million Baby, Exorcism of Emily Rose, of Revelations are teaming with Glenn Hetrick from Star Trek Discovery, Face Off, and Michael McKay, Underworld, Blood Wars, The Boy, on the long sought after subsidiary rights to the novels, which they plan to develop. Hetrick has been conceptualizing the adaptation of Necroscope since its original release for the screen. And this is what Hetrick says. The Necroscope universe allows us to explore the global themes of horror in a way never done before, and is a great addition to our slate of epic, award-winning, large-scale IP, which includes work by sci-fi visionary Arthur C. Clarke. Oh, this was McCreary. It says that. Freeman adds, one of the questions that has confronted humankind throughout history is, where do stories of good and evil come from? And why are they strikingly similar between different cultures throughout history? McKay added, it is far too epic and simply too good to relegate to a single film. I wholeheartedly agree with that. McKay continues, we have a nuanced, layered tapestry of science fiction, horror, and /horror unlike anything that has ever been put on screen. It is a once-in-a-lifetime project. It deserves to be savored. The material deserves that, and so does the audience. There is so much to love about this series, but for me it boils down to one thing. Greatest bad guy ever. So the Necroscope, and well, before I get on that, Hetrick exclaimed, I am fully committed to breathing life into every molecule of the visually compelling elements that comprise this sprawling literary universe, and I intend to do so with terrifying veracity. It is, in short, my life's work. Coupled with an integrity to both character and story, this unique approach will allow us to peel back the curtain for a brand new generation of global audience members while honoring the heritage so adored by the massive fan base. And again, he finishes it off with, the adaptation work leans heavily into the verisimilitude, words are hard, verisimilitude of Lumley's rich supernatural mythology, specifically in regards to its parallels with real-world philosophies, religions, and history. The science of magic, grounding our story in the most terrifying fictional reality ever. So the Necroscope series begins with the first book, and we meet Harry Keogh, who is a necroscope. What is a necroscope? He can talk to the dead. He's not like a necromancer, as in certain properties where he raises the dead and and controls the dead, but he actually has talks and, for the most part, good relationships with those that have died and moved on. That in itself makes for a strong property. But this is one of those series that transforms as it goes along, and it becomes something much larger. And as mentioned, as one of the quotes I read, how Morgan Freeman talked about the sense of how we have all these different cultures, but a lot of the same themes around evil, around philosophy. And I really appreciated how Lumley had tackled some of these, such as, why is the number 13 unlucky? It's one of those things. I don't want to give too much away. I would say the first probably I'd say the first three series and three trilogies that follow Keogh and the transformation and all these interesting cast of characters with special powers, or again, like you have ESP, extrasensory perception, and the way Lumley does it, it's not all X-Men or Avengers in the sense of, hey, I have these powers and I don't have any weaknesses. Some of these powers really come at a cost, and I like how he explores that of, I have this positive thing going for me, but at the same time, I have this albatross around my neck because of it. So I am very excited to see what happens with this. Not just that they're developing it, but they're developing it across multiple platforms. I don't know if it's going to be similar to how Resident Evil has, as I reviewed last week, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, but there's also several other Resident Evil games, as well as the other, I think Netflix has 2 or 3 more Resident Evil movies that are, CG animated, which I haven't gotten a chance to check out. And also we're having that Resident Evil show from Netflix, I believe, with it's being led by Lance Reddick as Albert Wesker, which I love Lance Reddick, but that's another one of those examples of changing a character for no real reason. I'm hoping they stick to this more so than Resident Evil did with the live action series that we have coming for us. And I'm also not concerned, but I'm also curious to see if all of these are going to be connected. Because if you're talking games, if you're talking small screen TV, if you're talking movies, is this going to be one cohesive world where canon matters? I really hope so, but only if they do it right. I mean, again, a lot of times these people behind the screens that get these properties, they say all the right things, Kevin Smith, but do they deliver on that? I don't know. But I'm curious to see where they go from here. So with that being the news bites, I do want to throw out two more things as far as what's coming for this week. And both of them are on the 23rd. We have the theatrical release of Old, M. Night Shyamalan's Old movie that I reviewed a few weeks ago. I reviewed the trailer, I should say, as well as the Kevin Smith. Speaking of Kevin Smith, Masters of the Universe Revelation, which will be part 1. The first 5 episodes will be on Netflix coming this Friday as well. Again, this is one of those where a lot of people were excited for it, and then kind of like Black Widow, news started leaking of plot points and potential character deaths, changing the focus of the main character or who the hero of the series is going to be. I don't want to give too much away. It's one of those, I'm really hoping I'm wrong on this. And I hope some of the rumors that came out are wrong, but again, alas, like Black Widow, I don't think they're wrong, unfortunately. But again, I will give it a fair shake. I will see what we see, and hopefully it'll be closer to, say, a WandaVision in the sense of enjoyment versus Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki. With that being said, I hope I entertained you for about 20 minutes or so as you work through your hump day. Brian and I will be back this weekend. We will be recording episode number 300. As mentioned, we have a big treat for you for that one. Hope to see you soon. Take care.